Unheard screams, the Hinterkaifeck horror that shook the world of scary stories. It was a beautiful spring day in 1922 in the small village of Hinterkaifeck, Germany. The Schmidt family was going about their usual business on their remote farm, but they had no idea of the darkness that was creeping closer. Earlier that day, the neighbors down the road had noticed strange things happening at the abandoned Schmidt farm. Footprints in the snow led from the forest to their farmhouse, but none led back. Later, as the sun began to set, the neighbors grew concerned that they had not seen any of the Schmidt family in town that day. Under the light of the moon, the neighbors made their way up the long driveway to the farmhouse. As they approached, an eerie silence hung in the air. Peeking into the windows, they saw nothing but shadows. With building dread, they tried the doors, but found them locked from the inside. Using tools from their cart, the neighbors broke into the farmhouse. With lanterns raised, they slowly made their way through each room, calling out for the family. But no one answered. Finally, in the barn, under piles of straw and farm equipment, they made a gruesome discovery. Lying in pools of coagulated blood were all 6 members of the Schmidt family. The father, mother, daughter, son, and the mother's sister and grandson. They had all been bludgeoned to death with an axe days earlier. The unsettling details of the Hinterkaifeck murders. What made the murders even more disturbing was that it seemed the family was being watched and isolated in the days before their deaths. Neighbors reported the Schmidt family had told them they felt like they were not alone on their farm, like someone was stalking them in the woods that surrounded their home. In the days before the murders, the Schmidt family reported hearing footsteps in unattended areas of the farm, even though they lived quite remotely. Strangely, fresh footprints were also found leading up to their home, but none led away. It was as if an unseen person had been residing amongst them without their knowledge. When the bodies were discovered under piles of straw and tools in the barn, it was clear the family had tried to defend themselves. Deep gashes and defensive wounds covered their remains, showing they had desperately fought for their lives against their unknown killer or killers. But the most unsettling detail was that it seemed the entire Schmidt family, including the young children, had been bludgeoned to death over the course of several days. Autopsies revealed they did not all perish at the same time, meaning the family was killed off one by one while helplessly listening to the attacks on one another. Their murderer had taken their time torturing this family in their own home. To this day, the Hinterkaifeck murders evoke a deep sense of dread because of the unknown intruder who stalked this family for days, residing among them unnoticed before brutally ending their lives one after the other over the course of multiple nights. The mystery of who committed these acts and why has never been solved. Theories and clues that have emerged throughout the years. One prime suspect was Andreas Gruber, a local farmhand who worked for the Schmidts. He had reportedly threatened the family on several occasions. After the murders, he unexpectedly inherited a large sum of money. However, he was never charged due to lack of evidence. The Schmidts' wealthy neighbor, Lorenz Schlittenbauer, also fell under suspicion. He had quarreled bitterly with the family over property disputes. Some believed he was the last person to see them alive, but alibis proved he couldn't have committed the murders. Footprints in the snow led to the farm, but not away, implying the killer evaded authorities. One theory is the murderer was never caught because they took their own life in the surrounding woods to avoid arrest. Their remains may still lie undiscovered. Neighbors of the Schmidts claimed to have seen a mysterious vagrant loitering in the area prior to the killings. Some theorize this unknown drifter could have been the intruder who invaded their home. Recent DNA testing of the blood-stained crime scene uncovered male DNA not belonging to any of the victims. This breakthrough clue could potentially unmask the real killer if the DNA is matched. Cryptic symbols and letters were posthumously found in the Schmidt family Bible, leading some to believe they knew their murderer or feared reprisal from a specific threat. Insight from forensics and crime historians on this cold case. Forensic pathologists who reviewed the autopsy reports believe the attacks were personal in nature, not just a random burglary gone wrong. The varying times of death and defensive wounds suggest the family knew their killer. Historians note the timeline of events is very telling. Footprints leading to, but not from the home, show the killer evaded capture by hiding somewhere on the isolated property. They believe the murderer was already residing there unnoticed. Crime scene analysts point to the cryptic texts in the family Bible as proof the family felt threatened. They deduce this was not a random intruder, but someone the family was aware of and possibly feared. Blood spatter analysis of the crime scene reveals the attacks were prolonged and cruel. Victims were bludgeoned in multiple areas of the home over extended time, showing the killer took sadistic pleasure in the murders. Profiling of the scene points to an organized killer, not a random act of violence. The effort to clear away evidence like footprints and stage the scene points to premeditation and a wish to avoid responsibility for the crimes. While modern forensic techniques gave renewed hope, DNA testing has so far failed to definitively identify the killer. This has left the century-old mystery unsolved, though experts agree the intruder was likely known to the family in some way. Without a confession, the truth may never be fully revealed. The cultural impact and legacy of the Hinterkaifeck mystery in popular scary stories and lore. The Hinterkaifeck murders have taken on a life of their own and had a significant cultural impact, spawning dozens of spooky stories and becoming entrenched in murder mystery lore. Here are some ways the case continues to be referenced. Several movies and documentaries have recounted the chilling tale over the years, ensuring new generations learn of the disturbing unsolved crimes. Graphic depictions keep viewers guessing who done it. Countless creepypastas and online forums feature the Hinterkaifeck farmhouse as a focal point, spinning new tales of present-day trespassers stumbling upon dark secrets from that fateful day in 1922. True crime podcasts and YouTube channels dwell on the goriest details and theorize endlessly, inspiring amateur sleuths worldwide to try cracking the cold case from their keyboards. Ghost hunters assert the farm and surrounding woods are haunted by the vengeful spirits of the Schmidt family, blaming their murders. Many paranormal investigators have captured alleged voices and orbs there. The story spawns new folklore of a sinister Hinterkaifeck killer ghost stalking the land, never far from any living soul. Tales warn against getting lost in those ominous woods after nightfall. Seasoned novelists find inspiration in the baffling crime, penning gripping fictional accounts sure to keep readers up at night, wondering about any unpunished killers in their midst. So while the murders remain unsolved after 100 years, the disturbing legend of Hinterkaifeck endures in modern tales of mystery, murder most foul, and things that go bump in the night. The case is cemented in infamy,